What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I'm liking this whole whatever core thing. It feels like we're having a renaissance on garbage. This last week, starting with the end of last week, has been hectic. And I'm normally good on low sleep. I'm normally relatively good under pressure because it gives me something to focus on. It gives me a stream to flow in. But I got no sleep the night before, and I got really no sleep last night. And normally I operate well enough on low to no sleep. But damn, if exhaustion doesn't hit you sometimes. And this exhaustion today, it hit different because it's been a while since I've been exhausted to the point it's like a simulated rock bottom. And I was expecting today to be super hectic, but then there was nothing. And I mean nothing, nothing. The sort of nothing that feels like something because you're waiting, or you know your tower is about to collapse, but you don't know what or which errant gust of wind is going to knock it all over. You don't know when it's coming, but you're certain it is, and then it doesn't. And earlier today I was thinking about I've been thinking about place in the world, if place existed, if place could exist, what would it need, and even if there were a way for you to build up some kind of a place, how what would it take for it to be acceptable to you? Because it seems like the longer you live, the more specific what you want becomes and the more impossible what you want becomes. Because when you were able to be more accepting, or your level of acceptability or levels of acceptability were much lower, sequentially, things went wrong at each level. So now you're in this spot in which you don't want to compromise on anything, because what would the point of compromise be? Life has already proven to you you won't get even 1/16th of what you actually want. So if you're going to have preferences, if you have pride, if you aren't going to roll over, you might as well be as specific and as unreasonable as you feel like being, because it doesn't matter. You've tried the compromise route. You've tried the getting along acceptability route, and it never worked. So I was thinking about politics, and I was thinking because I the closest I think I'd be able to get is classical M tier fascism. Realistically. Because it's not totalitarianism, it's not even really a political thing. It's more of an aesthetic fuck everyone and everything thing. That's why it's appealing. And I love it because it's fluid, because it changes, it's adaptable, it can be anything it needs to be. But national concept is the unifying feature, and national concept is based in the land, your cradle. But I don't know how much I believe in the cradle anymore, at least as far as the United States in total goes. Which is difficult because there are parts of it I do believe in, or there are aspects of it, or abstractions I believe in. And not just believe in, but you can see. The United States is like the CERN of race. I feel the United States gestating a racially cool thing. Any day now, I feel like we're going to crack the racial and cultural code and unlock the ability for the nation to enter the racial avatar state and race bend all the races and conquer the entire planet, as is our destiny. But as much as I believe in it, as much as I see it, actually, it's also, or another large part of me views it as nothing more than a fantasy, nothing more than a grasping at some unifying baseline, the lowest you can believe in, which is the soil, which is the cradle that raises us all. If not that, then what? And I was thinking about what a a skimmerlit political party in the absence of everything, including fascism, would look like. What would the principles be? And two Onion sketches came to mind. I don't remember the specifics because I refuse to watch The Onion now. The Onion is another thing I hate. But one of the sketches involved a political party that was something like Americans against happiness, or Americans against positivity, or something like that, in, in which people were polled, what do you want? And it's a series of different sufferings or tortures. Like, I don't want lower gas prices, I want an all consuming flame. And then there was one sketch in which they were mocking Trump by saying the Republicans were going to nominate a white hot ball of screaming anger. And in total, that's about how I feel about things. That's the only thing that's really real to me. And then I started thinking, how did we get to this point? And I went back as far as I could. Because believe it or not, I wasn't always like this. And actually, we've been doing YouTube long enough. You can go back and see what I used to be like. Almost 10 years ago now, or maybe actually 10 years ago now. When I started this channel, I was on the decline, but it wasn't so bad. It was a slow decline, and then my police issue happened, and then that was a drop off. And then ever since, it has been a fast drop off. But it wasn't legal fuckery and malevolent people, or specific malevolent people, that got us here. This started so much earlier, and it's always been a general thing. And before we get into this, I've talked about this a number of times, but to reiterate briefly, I wasn't some little angel kid. I was the newest link in an ugly chain, and I was unpleasant because I wanted attention, because I didn't have good models for how to deal with people or how to understand people. And also, I was really goddamn slow and stupid socially. So slow socially, and still am. You put something that's the equivalent of a Rubik's Cube in front of me, like typology, I can figure that out. And it comes relatively naturally to me. But you ask me to do something basic, or realistic, or useful, essential if you want to live in the world, that's the kind of shit it'll take me decades to get a basic child's grasp of. So I was far from a precious little angel. But I believe I had a pretty good heart at that time. And if people weren't what they claim they are, or what they claim, and what they claim people should be, then maybe I wouldn't be what I am right now. And I'm not putting the blame on them completely, because getting here and going further is a choice and has been a choice. But the options are either do and be what I'm doing and being now, or be some trash person underneath everybody else. That's, at least to me, pride is my sin. Maybe for some people that is a choice. For me, it is a choice, but it's not really a choice. You've decided I can't be among you. Well, I'm not going to be under you. So the only real option is to try to figure out how to get above. But let's get back to the beginning. Where did it... Man, I am so tired, and I stumble over my words normally enough. But Jesus, if I'm not stumbling over my words a lot this evening. You can't hear it, I cut a lot of it out, but damn. So, where did it start? Who hurt you? The concept or standard of socialization hurt me. As far back as I can remember, there has always been this invisible line of separation between me and other people. I don't know if it was an inability to understand social codes at a young age. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But that's either it shouldn't be a problem now, or it shouldn't be as much of a problem now, but it's still there. You, as you are, as your authentic self, and everybody values authenticity these days, they don't like you. There is something, and I feel like we've talked about this before, not that long ago. Maybe we're retreading ground, but I'm tired, and I'm at a simulated rock bottom. There's something people don't like about you. It's invisible, it's intangible. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't feel like you did anything to end up in this position or to end up like this. It also feels like there's nothing you can do about it other than fake it, which we've gotten to a point that works, kind of, but there's no integration there. There's some kind of smell on you, and you are excluded from people. And my favorite example of this, although this happened all throughout childhood, I think this was in earlier middle school, I got kicked out of the nerd group. The fucking dregs. Not actually the dregs. We're the dregs. The blue chip dregs. Because I thought My Little Pony was stupid. And that was a hangable offense. But that was a negative thing. Or that was a I dislike something the group likes. You can, or you will be excluded if you try to be kind or warm in a way that is not socialized in the way I guess people are socialized, but it doesn't make sense because you can do the same thing another person does. You can mimic whatever positivity shit they do or positions they hold, and people can smell that there is something wrong on you. It's like you're radioactive or something. And I did have some friends, but with them, and there are two camps here, and this is why I feel like this is some kind of spiritual poison happening. I don't know what it is. On the one hand, I had the reverse military brat experience. Growing up, you hear about military kids, they move all over the place. They can never make friends because they're never in a school for more than a year or two. For me, I would make friends, and then when I was young, pulled out of one school. But then every year after that, it was more like I would get close to someone, and then they would move away. Oftentimes because they were military kids, but not always. And then I finally kind of make a group of friends, but this was I think where the whole above or below thing started. I was a below in that friend group, and I despised it. And then so that whole situation ended. And then I had pretty much only two friends, but I didn't matter all that much to them. So I spent a lot of my high school, it's kind of childhood, but I spent a lot of high school wishing I were able to spend more time with people who didn't care much about me. And maybe for good reason. I stress again, I wasn't a saint, but you take my negative traits and you compare them against any number of anyone else's negative traits in any of those age groups. I wasn't all that bad, comparatively at least. Unforgivably in the bigger picture, I'm sure, but in context, not the worst. So a childhood defined by general exclusion, a lot of bullying, and then the few people I do like, either my getting taken from them, or they're getting taken from me, or the few people remaining I like, don't want much to do with me. Then I graduated. I go off to college. And what a disaster all that was. I ended up having to go to community college anyway. But that first year, in which I was in college, new place, fresh start. So I thought. And looking back on it, it's it's humiliating. It's embarrassing remembering how optimistic you were. These are all complete strangers. You're not the exact you're well at that age, some people mature faster than others do. I sure as shit didn't. I wasn't the exact same person I was in high school. Especially toward the end there was some development there. I had I love aura as a word. I'd started to build a little bit of aura, but I was still pretty much the same person, but not completely exactly, and these were completely new people. And I had so many happy horseshit ideas about how to get along with people or the fun things we would get up to. And then it was the same thing. General exclusion, not as much bullying this time, but again, people can smell something on you. And then my roommate for that one semester was an SMN, a Super Mario motherfucker. And this dude asked me to drive him to GameStop because he couldn't drive. But this musty motherfucker acted like he was too cool to hang out with me. Like interfering with your stench. Are you afraid I will moisturize your fucking ashy joints? Oh, and this isn't relevant. It's kind of relevant. It doesn't have much to do with the social thing. But it was four dudes in two rooms sharing one bathroom. And on the other side, there was this... he had the nasal ROTC voice. Screaming Battlefield ROTC nasally dude who broke our toilet. And this is... I was Mr. Incompetent. I'm always Mr. Incompetent. I don't know shit. I'm bad at being an adult. I had to figure out what to do about that because everybody else was just that incompetent. Which is really saying something. And I heard this dipshit break it, and he just left it there. And I worked a shitty food service job, catering job, got to deal with, or got some exposure to shitty people. It was a lot of exposure to shitty people. Within this, everybody needs to get along, and we're having such a good time, and we're so silly, and we're outrageous atmosphere. And that entire experience put a pretty hard stop on that level of optimism. And I'm not going to go, or I'm not going to recount all the rest leading up to this point, but there is a new layer that gets added to this that repeated a couple times, which is finally, after however many years, finding people you can be sort of comfortable around, and then they fuck you. That happened a few times, and it's always devastating. But you need to know this happens cyclically, because after each cycle of the consequences of your having whatever smell is on you and whatever time and space of cooked up to throw at you or to put you in this time, but it's all the same shit, you become less open and optimistic each time. Each time there is a little less to hope for, a little less to believe in, a little less willingness to bend, because you learn that's not a good idea. And then you finally arrive at this point. The point at which you say, fuck everybody. And fuck everything, too. There aren't even things to believe in or to hope for. Now, because you're stupid, maybe even on a subconscious level, you'll still be hoping for some things. But time is an honest disciplinarian. It will instruct you. If there is any hope inside you, time will see that it is scrubbed clean eventually. Even if your stupid ass can't pick up on it when you should, or as early as you should. And then finally you reach a point, you decide you won't just let people fuck you anymore. You might not be good at defending yourself, you might have bad defense and offense, but you're not gonna open up, get punched in the stomach, and then retreat a little bit more ad infinitum. There's only so far you can retreat inside unless you manage to cross the sanity barrier somehow, which I haven't and probably won't. It's another thing I've been trying to figure out, or dealing with. Maybe not dealing with, that's not the right word. Sitting with, trying to rationalize or reason through what this invisible cloud is, and realizing it's nothing. As in, there's no disability, there's no disorder, at least in any rational or material sense. You are Joe Dipshit. You are Mr. Standard. If there's something wrong with you, then it is a consequence of divine purpose. Maybe we can spec into savior complex or some other kind of complex. Maybe we can get enough XP and level up into a different form of insanity. But we aren't totally there yet. And this makes me think one of two things. Either this experience of life I'm describing is actually secretly the norm, but other people are better able to deal with it, or their repression or suppression mechanisms work and you don't have them, but everybody is feeling the same thing inside. And if that's the case, then fuck you. If you're feeling this way, then why did none of you ever try to do something different? Or open up the way I would try to open up when I was younger? Why was it exclusion and hostility from day one? Like it was ingrained in you as children. Why? No sympathy. Or there is actually something spiritually poisoned about you in particular, which I don't really believe, because despite the way everybody talks, despite how everybody acts like they're all on the same page about the same things, at least for the most part, especially being good. Everybody's got to be good, everybody's got to be nice. But then everybody is miserable and rotten, and they hate each other, and they take every opportunity they can to be evil to one another. The people who talk about kindness the most, I don't believe that my experience is this unique, spiritually poisoned thing. I think you're all dirty, evil hypocrites, and I wish you the worst. I wish the worst for you and your families, your children, your fucking dogs. But let's say it is an individual spiritual poisoning. That would almost be worse, because that would mean everybody is, truly, on this happiness and kindness and understanding shit, and they have chosen not to extend that to you. Then it is some kind of specific exclusion by people who are supposed to be accepting. And I don't think this is the case. I think we all persecute one another. But god damn, why didn't anybody do anything different? If this is the status quo and it makes everybody miserable, and everybody talks about how this is a terrible status quo, then why did nobody ever try to be better or try to be open? And now we're in the era of openness and uniqueness and authenticity and kindness. And everybody says that's what they are and that's what needs to be, but nobody is. Why? Why? And how do you justify these discrepancies externally and internally to yourself while sucking your kindness pacifier or sucking your own kindness dick? I got to this point because everybody is poison. And I'm poison too, but I wasn't, at least not to this point, to this extent when I was a child, but you were. And in current day, people will do everything in their power to comfort you into lowering your guard, or to psych you out into lowering your guard, or to intimidate you into lowering your guard. And it always ends the same way. It always ends the same way. So you're left with nothing, or you're left with no mode of being other than to be an animal backed into a corner. There's not a way out. Or at least there isn't one for someone who's as big of a pussy as you are. So I am a card-carrying member now of the Americans Against Happiness Party, and I would vote for a white-hot ball of screaming, fiery hatred, because there is, in fact, nothing else. At least not with humans the way they are right now. People are a tornado of lies that destroy everything. And I think that about covers it, so we will cut it here. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.